Hey there, thank you so much for tuning into my second ever guitar tutorial video. Today I'm going to break down how I play the wonderful Karine Polwart song, Follow the Heron. This tutorial video was requested by Scott Snadden, so thank you so much, Scott. I hope that you find this helpful, and I hope that some other folks out there will get some use out of it too, and maybe get some ideas and inspiration for your own arrangements. So the first thing to note is I've got the tab and a lyric sheet with chords all available on our website, linked in the description below. I would recommend that you go ahead and download that in advance because a lot of it's pretty straightforward, but when we come to the chord melody instrumental section, that's a little bit easier to understand if you can see it written out. The second thing to note is this is not Karine Polwart's version of her own song. This is my version of her song. So if you're hoping to learn her version, you can probably extrapolate a lot of what she does based on what I do, because she sings it in A, and I would normally sing it in A as well, though I usually capo on the second fret and use G chords. And from there, I have a few more passing chords than she has in her version, and there are, I think, a couple of differences in terms of where our 6 minor chords go, but overall, not entirely dissimilar. I do also play it a little bit more upbeat and swingy, but the general idea is there. I also do this one in drop D, and you can totally do it in standard. I like to do it in drop D because I like having that nice low D when it comes to the 5 chord. But you can adapt everything that I do to standard, but I will obviously show it in drop D. So the first thing to do would be to go over the chord progression, which is pretty straightforward, but in case you're not used to doing drop D, I'll go ahead and break that down. So first you've got G, and so because we're in drop D, we've got the G fretted on the 5th fret of the D string, open D, open G, D on the 3rd fret of the B string, and I like to leave the 3rd out on this chord at first. Just have that nice open G, and then it goes to G over F sharp, so just moving one finger down to the 4th fret of the D string / E string, to E minor, and of course you have to fret on the 2nd fret there, to C, just regular old C, A minor 7, open A, D string fretted on the 2nd fret, open G, B string fretted on the 1st fret, to D, and I like to do, again, a nice open D chord with no 3rds, so open D, open A, open D, 2nd fret on the G string, 3rd fret on the B string there, maybe a little walk up on the bass, to G, and then the chorus goes back to that D, to G, to regular C, and then I do a G over B here, so 2nd fret on the A string, open D, open G, 3rd fret on the B string, C, G over B again, to D. And then from there, the chords just repeat the same form as in the verse. So in terms of the overall form of this, what I do when I perform it is I have an intro of about 8 bars, and then verse 1, chorus, and then as an interstitial between that chorus and the next verse, I do the intro again, basically. And then verse 2, chorus, and then from there, the chord melody instrumental, so an entire instrumental over both the verse and the chord forms. And then verse 3, chorus, and then my outro is the same as the intro, so nice and easy. So I'll go ahead and break that down. All right, so starting with the intro, so for that I just do the G chord and the C chord back and forth for a little while. And the pattern that I use on the G chord is a little bit of this sort of percussive, snappy thing that goes like this. 1 and 2 and 3, so 1 and, so bass note, chord, slap everything down, and what I basically do is just take the whole hand and hit all the strings, deadening them, but the thumb is sort of the heaviest one there, so 1 and 2 and 3, 1 and 2 and 3, 1 and 2 and 3. And then the C chord has its own pattern that goes like this. 1 and 2 and a 3 and 1 and 2 and a 3 and, so you're basically just arpeggiating the chord but just throwing in this little pull off on the B string. 1 and 2 and a 3 and 1 and 2 and a 3 and 1 and 2 and a 3 and, so together those sound like this. 1 and 2 and 3, 1 and 2 and a 3 and 1 and 2 and 3, 1 and 2 and a 3 and 1 and 2 and 3, 1 and 2 and a 3 at this point, I change the pattern, and the next two measures are just going to be G, and I sort of just do this arpeggiated, kind of nice rolling thing where I go 1 and 2 and 3, and then I end on a couple of strums. 1 and 2 and 3 and 1, 2 and 3 and is what I would typically do. So just one strum and 3 and 1, 2 and 3 and. So I'll do that all together one more time. 1 and 2 and 3, 1 and 2 and a 3 and 1 and 2 and 3, 1 and 2 and a 3 and 1 and 2 and 3, 1 and 2 and a 3 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 1, 2 and 3 and. Now an alternate pattern for that intro, if you're not really digging the slappy thing so much, would be to go 1 and 2 and 3 and. So 1 and 2 and 3 and. So I'm just doing bass note, hitting the G and the B string, D one more time, D, G, 1 and 2 and 3 and. And the C I keep the same. 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and a 3 and 1 and 2 and 3, 1 and 2 and a 3 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and 3 and. And at the end you could either do just that same pattern again, or you could go back to the pattern that I used in the first variation of the intro, that 1 and 2 and 3 and 1, 2 and 3 and. So from there we get into the verse. And so the pattern that I typically use for verse 1 and 2 is a pretty sparse but sort of rhythmic pattern that goes like this. 1, 2 and 3, 1, 2 and 3, 1, 2 and 3. So I'm just doing E string, G string, B string all together, and then G string, D string. 1, 2 and 3, 1, 2 and 3, 1, 2 and 3, 1, 2 and 3. And so what that sounds like with all the chords, or with the entire progression, is going to be like this. 1, 2, 3, G, G over F sharp, E minor, C, A minor 7, D, G. And that's where I would typically break that pattern again and just do that rolling arpeggio and then do a little strum or two. 1 and 2 and 3 and 1, 2 and 3. And speaking of those strums, what I do for those when I'm finger picking is just use the back of my nails, just this little like kind of casual, just bringing it down, brushing it over the strings. 1 and 2 and 3. 1 and 2 and 3. 1 and 2 and 3. So yeah, pretty straightforward. And then if you use that pattern and apply it to the chorus, it's going to sound like this. 1, 2, D. 1, 2, oh, hang on, let me stop myself for a second. So I usually, when it comes to the chorus, I vary the pattern a little bit on that D chord because I like to have a little walking bass line on that D where it goes 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So D, F sharp, A, F sharp. And so with the treble notes, I change those up a little bit, so it ends up sounding like this. 1, 2, and 3, 1, 2, and 3. 1, 2, and 3, 1, 2, and 3. Then from there, back to the old pattern. 1, 2, and 3, C, G over B. And then here's where it varies again because I've got this quick change from the G over B to the C on the second beat. So I just do quarter notes. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. I usually hit the E there, but you can probably hit any note. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Back to G over B, and then I go back to the pattern. 1, 2, and 3. 1, 2, and 3. G, G over F sharp, E minor, C, A minor 7 to D, back to G. And again, arpeggiated chord with a couple little strums at the end. So pretty simple and straightforward, but if you want to make it even simpler, I've got an alternate pattern that I often throw in on the third verse when I kind of want to bring the energy down a little bit. And it's sort of the same thing as that arpeggiated pattern we've been using with the G, just applied to all the chords. So 1 and 2 and 3 and so just in terms of the strings, E, D, G, B, D, G, 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and 3 and with a little swing it's 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and 3 and. So now applying that to all the chords, we've got G, G over F sharp, E minor, to C, to A minor 7, to D, back to G, G, G over F sharp, E minor, to C, A minor 7, to D, back to G. And here we go into the chorus, so we're going to start on the D, and again I like to do that 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, so I work that in by going 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and 3, 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and 3 and then G to C, G over B, and with this little quick change I do that same quarter note thing again, so 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and 3, 1, G, G over F sharp, E minor, to C, A minor 7, to D, back to G. So either of those patterns works great for being played underneath the vocals, whichever one you prefer. Once again, I like to use that second one on the last verse when I bring the energy down. And we've talked a little bit about some of the variations that I do at the ends of the phrases, and a couple more that I might do are, as they're written out on the tab, we've got this first pattern that is sort of a variation on the first pattern. So that first one is 1, 2, and 3. What you could do instead is 1, 2, and 3, 1, 2, and 3, 1, 2, and 3, 1, 2, and 3. Just a nice little variation that you can try to play around with. 1, 2, and 3, 1, 2, and 3, 1, 2, and 3, 1, 2, and 3. And then some other variations that I might throw in, again, towards the ends of the phrases in general, might be these sort of more percussive patterns like this one that's also laid out in the tab. 1 and 2 and 3 and. So that slap is pretty similar to the slap in the intro, but it's really mostly just on the bass note. So 1 and 2 and 3 and 3 and. So I'm kind of keeping the fingers tucked in so that when I slap down I can easily grab them on the and of the 3. 1 and 2 and 3 and. Then the other version might be 1, 2 and 3. So kind of incorporating the strum with the slap. 1, 2, and 3. 1, 2, and 3. 1, 2, and 3. 1, 2, and 3. So some different options that you can mix in. I generally tend to not stick to one the entire time. I kind of tend to mix them up. So an example of that might sound like this. Alright, so from here we get into the chord melody instrumental. So this is where I arranged the melody and the chords to go over the verse and chorus form for the guitar. So what I do to start off, I like to kind of vary the melody a little bit, make it a little lazier for playing. And so normally what it would sound like if you were singing it was what I do instead is just go just that open E at the top. And then this E minor chord that comes up, so because the melody hits the D, so now it becomes an E minor 7 really. And rather than worrying about these two strings here, I just leave those open, don't really touch them at all. Well, I do touch the D string, sorry. So the entire chord is an E minor 7. And I really just fret that one down there, the 2nd fret on the D string. To C, A minor 7. Just lifting that C there to the open B. And so on that D there, that's my little variation on the melody again. So rather than just going, I go pull off, arpeggiated G, strums. I'll repeat that whole thing. Then going into the chorus form. Now I actually don't play an instrumental over the chorus form in my original video, but I'll show you how I would do that here. So because we're starting off on that D and the melody goes up pretty high on the F sharp, G, and A, what I would do is as a partial bar the D chord. So you're using your index finger to hold down the A and the F sharp, middle finger on that D, and then you can go. And so from here, I don't use that G over B that I use in most of the songs. So instead I just stick to the regular G because the melody has the B in it. So you just because it sounds a little bit weird to have the melody, or sorry, have the B in both the melody and the bass. That's why I stick with the regular G here. To C. Here I use the G over B again. And then from there it goes back to the verse form. So. And on this round, I would actually go ahead and try to do the full melody. So that would involve doing a little partial bar on the B and the E strings, holding down the D and the G. E minor 7. A minor 7. And sometimes with that D, I'll try to think of some sort of little bluesier variation. That wasn't successful, but you get the idea. You can play around with it. Well, there you have it. I hope that all made sense. If not, you can definitely send me questions via email. I'm always happy to take some time to answer and further break things down. If you appreciated this and you want to leave a tip, we have a PayPal link in the description below. And if you want to see more of this sort of thing, I'm doing roughly weekly fingerstyle content in the form of tutorials and transcriptions and more videos, both here on YouTube as well as on Instagram. So you can follow us in both those spots. So thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you soon.